Hello everybody. So in the last video we just saw that sometimes it's really easy and really beneficial if you factor the numbers and try to do the root first. Whatever the root is, that's how many of a kind you're trying to find. If I'm breaking down this 81 and it needs a fourth root, that means I'm trying to break down this 81 into the same number 4 times. Because we've done 81 several times already, I already know that it's 3 to the 4th power. And so this is going to be equal to 1 over 3 in the end. But it doesn't always work out nice and neat. There are some numbers that whenever you try to do the root that it says, it doesn't work out evenly, which means it doesn't give you a perfect answer. Let's take that number 600 and let's break it down into its factors. That could be 3 and 200, 2 and 100, 10 and 10, 2 and 5, 2 and 5. So if we rewrite this, this is the square root of 2 to the 3rd power times 3 only shows up once times 5 squared. The square root of 600 is the same thing as the square root of 2 cubed times 3 times 5 squared. Just like whenever we had something like this, you were allowed to split the radical to each part. You can do the same thing here. Instead of doing the square root of all of these things together, you could do the square root of 2 cubed times the square root of 3 times the square root of 5 squared. Starting from the end, the square root and 5 squared are going to balance out. That one is no longer under a root. The square root of 3 is going to have to stay because it's only one of them. Here, we have 2 cubed. 2 cubed means that there are 3 of the number 2 there. 2 cubed means that really there are 3 2's here. The square root can be undone for this pair. The purpose of a square root is to see if you can find 2 of a kind. This pair, since they're underneath the square root, they can be taken outside as a regular number. This pair becomes the regular number 2, and this 2 is going to stay under the square root. The 3 is going to stay under the square root, and the 5 is outside of the square root. Once you have all of these things multiplying, you can take the numbers that are outside of the square root and combine them, and the numbers that are inside of the square root will also combine. So this 2 and this 5, those can multiply to make 10. And they're going to multiply the square root of 2 times 3, which is 6. So in the end, the square root of 600 is equal to 10 square root of 6. And let me show you another way that we could have gotten to the same answer. 600 can break down into 6 times 100. And 100 breaks down to be 10 times 10. We are trying to do a root, and we found 2 of a kind. This number didn't have a pair, so it's going to, I'll show you. By rewriting it with these factors, we have 10 times 10 times 6. Since we're doing the square root and we need a pair, we found a pair of 10s. These can come outside of the root to be a 10. This 6 doesn't have a pair, so it's going to stay inside of there, and we get the same answer. So this example shows you 2 things. It shows you, 1, you can factor things multiple ways. You could have done the 6 and the 100 and then broken it down into the 10s. Or you could have done it the other way whenever we had all of those 2's and all of the 5's and then the single 3. But it shows you that you can take some numbers out of a root and leave other numbers in to get the most simplified answer. This is the most simplified answer. Let me do a few more examples, and this time I'll throw in some variables.